Welcome to the next episode of the Dark Web Deacon. So let's check our secure connections, adjust our hoodies, and as always, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. For today's Dark Web Deacon movie review, we're going to look at the 2016 film Nerve, starring Dave Franco, the brother of James Franco, who plays Ian, and Emma Roberts, the niece of Julia Roberts, who plays V. I'll do my best to avoid major spoilers. The premise of the film is a high school senior, played by V, finds herself immersed in an online game of Truth or Dare, where her every move starts to become manipulated by an anonymous community of watchers. This film, I don't want to say was ahead of its time with the topic of selling yourself for likes and cash, but it came out before it became a full-blown epidemic that this film, I think, saw coming. What I think the filmmakers could not imagine is how today people will do dares and disgusting challenges just for the likes and dopamine hit alone without any immediate cash reward. The cinematography of this film is great, and certain scenes are very Tron-like with his neon glows. The film also has a washed-out blue light backdrop at times, a little bit like the blue light a cell phone emits. Not sure if that was an intentional artistic choice by the filmmakers or not, but it works to fit the theme of the film. The first 5 minutes of the film is a perfect breakdown of the lost focus we now all experience due to technology. V is an up-and-coming art student. Her mother is afraid to have her leave home due to the tragic death of her son and V's brother 2 years before. V gets an acceptance letter from Cal Arts College, the most important decision of her life, but gets distracted from the conflict going to the school will cause with her mother, with a Facebook like from a guy she likes, an IM from a friend, and then a video about the Nerve game. For the Nerve game, you can either be a player in the game or a watcher. There is a more disturbing third option, but you do not learn about that until the very end of the film. The Nerve game has 3 rules. 1. All dares must be filmed. 2. A dare ends if you fail or bail from it, or if, of course, you succeed at it. 3. Snitches get stitches, i.e. you can't talk about Nerve to authorities. The game is local to the metro area you live, and players keep succeeding at more insane dares or bailing or failing until there are only 2 finalists left within the metro area to compete for the jackpot. So, after V is embarrassed and rejected by a guy she has the hots for, she decides to go all in and become a Nerve player to change her life. The first dare is a simple kiss of a stranger for 5 seconds to make a quick $100. Her second dare, she has to go to New York City with the guy she just kissed, who goes by the name Ian, to make another $200. From there, the dares continue to escalate. There is a great scene in which V's friend Sydney pretends to be worried about her being at risk, but the reality is, Sydney is only worried that V may end up with more followers than her. As V's dares become more insane as they stream live, V's friend Tommy decides to find out more about this Ian character, since he seems to be a ghost on the surface web, and V and Ian seem to be teamed up in this Nerve game together. So Tommy goes on the dark web, onto a site called Aruba, and unearths a disturbing video about Ian playing Nerve in Seattle. As V continues to become more and more popular on the online game, Sydney and V come to blows when Ian and V show up at the same party Sydney is at which time the Nerve game dares V to go after the same stunt Sydney failed at earlier in the night that almost killed her. We now enter the third act of the film. V has had enough and goes to the police and thus breaks the third rule of the Nerve game. Within minutes, all the money her and her mother had in their bank account is emptied out, and she is left with no choice but to continue the game, and her only option is to win in the final round. V knows she can't do it alone, so in desperation, she reaches out to what used to be her real friends before she joined Nerve. There's also a really cool scene in which supporters of V try to modify the Nerve source code and use botnets to validate this code change they're trying to make by using the bots as a majority of the voting block to ensure that the code gets submitted and approved. This is actually how you would do some type of hack like this, which I really find refreshing as opposed to often lazy screenwriters who just have some nerd doing stuff in the background that sounds techie. So they explain kind of what they're doing in this little scene, and it definitely holds up to kind of real-world validation of how you would actually try to pull something like this off. As things intensify and come to a head between the Watchers and V and Ian and the various supporters, it reminds me a bit of the first episode of Black Mirror. Everyone is watching and obsessed with this inevitable car wreck that's about to come. There is a final vote of yes or no, which ensues amongst all the Watchers to decide if people should actually live or die. It's the final consciousness check on the moral compass of the masses, and one finds themselves asking, have we fallen as a society, or is there still hope? My final thoughts on the film Nerve are this. Overall, a solid cast and acting. The script and relevancy of the topic about online obsession, the degradation of human interactions, and the callousness of the human soul that forms over time as we spend more and more time online is spot on. The first act of the film is short and it jumps right into the action quickly, so not a ton of character development, but that is expected for a 90-minute film. I enjoyed the overall pacing, and the third act by far is the best. It has good cinematography, and I thought the Tron look and washed out blue light overtones fit the mood and topic. There's also a quick cameo by Casey Neistat, the famous YouTube star, and you may miss it if you're not watching. A few small nitpick items and then one larger one. What the F cell phone are these people using where they can live stream for hours on end with no battery loss? There are also a few plot holes, like V and her mother magically getting all their money back at the end by a friend of Tommy who hacks the hackers. Okay, sure. Also, the snitches get stitches rule of the game is there for a plot device to increase intensity and drama for the third act, but practically makes no sense for a game that everyone has access to as a watcher. So that S would go viral on Twitter in no time. So the whole snitches get stitches rule makes no sense for a game that's publicly available. But overall, my biggest issue with this film, and many, is that there is no real-world consequences for outrageous behavior. IMDb has this as a solid 6.5 rating. Most of these ratings are from 2016, and many viewed it as a teen summer movie or a movie about cyberbullying. I think it deserves a little bit of a higher rating, and overall, the Dark Web Deacon thinks this is more relevant to watch now than when it first came out in 2016, and I give this film a big single thumbs up. Check out the Dark Web Deacon merch store. We have high-quality t-shirts, accessories, and signature hoodies, of course, and become a true Dark Web enthusiast and VIP. New videos are published every Monday and Thursday.